Hi, this is emulsions preparation and stabilization required reads. First, my recommended reference for this material is chapter 23, Suspensions and Emulsions, from Pharmaceutics, The Science of Dosage Form, designed by Alton, your textbook. An emulsion is a thermodynamically unstable two-phase system consisting of at least two immiscible liquids, one of which is dispersed in the form of small droplets throughout the other, and an emulsifying agent. The dispersed liquid is known as the internal or discontinuous phase, whereas the dispersion medium is known as the external or continuous phase. Pharmaceutical emulsions usually consist of a mixture of an aqueous phase with various oils and or wax types of emulsions. If oils, petroleum hydrocarbons, and or waxes are the dispersed phase, and water or an aqueous solution is the continuous phase, oil droplets dispersed throughout the aqueous phase, the system is called an oil in water emulsion. An oil in water emulsion is generally formed if the aqueous phase constitutes more than 45% of the total weight and a hydrophilic emulsifier is used. Conversely, where water droplets or aqueous solutions are dispersed in an oleaginous medium, oil medium, the system is known as water in oil emulsion. Water in oil emulsions are generally formed if the aqueous phase constitutes less than 45% of the total weight and a lipophilic emulsifier is used. It is also possible to form multiple emulsions. For example, many small water droplets can be enclosed within larger oil droplets, which are themselves then dispersed in water. This gives a water in water emulsion. The alternative oil in oil emulsion is also possible. If the dispersed globules are colloidal dimensions 1 nanometer to 1 micrometer diameter, the preparation, which is quite often transparent or is translucent, is called microemulsion. This type has similar properties to a micellar system and will therefore exhibit properties of hydrophobic colloids. As the size of the dispersed droplets increases, more of the characteristics of coarse dispersions will be exhibited. Several simple methods are available for differentiation between oil in water and water in oil emulsions. The most common of these involves miscibility test. With oil or water, the emulsion will only be miscible with liquids that are miscible with its continuous phase. Oil in water emulsions are miscible with water but immiscible with oils, while water in oil emulsions are miscible with oil but not with water. Second, connectivity measurement. Systems with aqueous continuous phase will readily conduct electricity, whereas systems with oily continuous phase will not. Oil in water emulsions, in oil and water emulsions, water being the continuous phase, will conduct electricity throughout the system. If two electrodes, when placed in such a preparation with a battery and suitable light source conduct in series, will cause the lamp to glow, while water in oil emulsion The preparation in which oil is the continuous phase will not conduct electricity, and the lamp in the previous system, the lamp will not glow or will only flicker spasmodically. Staining test. Water soluble and oil soluble dyes are used, one of which will dissolve in and color continuous phase. If we are conducting staining test using or by the incorporation of an oil soluble dye, then oil in water emulsions upon macroscopical examination will be paler color than a water in oil, and under microscopic examination colored globules on a colorless background will appear, while if this oil soluble dye was used to stain water in oil emulsion, macroscopical examination will reveal more intense coloration than with oil in water emulsion, and upon microscopic examination, colorless globules against a colored background will appear. For formulation of emulsion, and because of the wide range of emulsifying agents available, considerable experience is required to choose the best emulsion system for a particular product. The final choice will depend to a large extent on the properties and use of the final product and the other materials required to be present. In the choice of type of emulsion, the decision as to whether an oil in water or water in oil emulsion is to be formulated will eliminate many unsuitable emulsifying systems. For example, fats or oils for oral administration are invariably formulated as oil in water emulsions, while emulsions for intravenous administration must also be of the oil in water type, although intramuscular injections can be formulated as water in oil emulsions. While in the choice of oil phase, in many instances, the oil phase of an emulsion is the active agent, and therefore its concentration in the product is predetermined. Liquid paraffin, castor oil, cod liver oil, and arachis oil are all examples of medications which are formulated as emulsions for oral administration. Cottonseed oil, soybean oil, and safflower oil are used for their high calorific value in emulsions for intravenous feeding. And examples of externally applied oils that are formulated as emulsions include turpentine oil and benzyl benzoate. Many emulsions for external use contain oils that are present as carriers for the active agent. It must be realized that the type of oil used may also have an effect on both the viscosity of the product and on the transport of the drug into the skin. Emulsion consistency. The texture or feel of a product intended for external use must be considered. There are several methods by which the rheological properties of an emulsion can be controlled. These are volume concentration of the dispersed phase, particle size of the dispersed phase, viscosity of the continuous phase, viscosity of the dispersed phase, nature and concentration of the emulsifying system. And in the choice of emulsifying agent, toxicity and irritancy should be considered. Formulation by the Hlb method. It has already been shown that physically stable emulsions are best achieved by the presence of a condensed layer of emulsions at the oil-water interface, and that the complex interfacial films formed by a blend of an oil-soluble emulsifying agent with a water-soluble one produces the most satisfactory emulsions. Then, a useful method has been devised for calculating the relative quantities of these emulsions necessary to produce the most physically stable emulsions for a particular oil and water combination. This is called the hydrophile-lipophile balance (HLB method). Although originally applied to non-ionic surface active agent, its use has been extended to ionic emulsions. Each surfactant is allocated an HLB number representing the relative proportions of the lipophilic and hydrophilic parts of the molecule. High numbers, up to theoretically maximum 20, therefore indicate a surfactant is exhibiting mainly hydrophilic or polar properties, whereas low numbers represent lipophilic or nonpolar characteristics. In this method, each type of oil used will require an emulgent of a particular HLB number or an emulsific. In this method, each type of oil used will require an emulgent or an emulsifying system of a particular HLB number in order to ensure a stable product. For an oil and water emulsion, for example, the more polar the oil phase, the more polar must be the emulgent system. If a formulation contains a mixture of oils, fats, or waxes, the total HLB required can be easily calculated based on the contribution of each oil phase component in the oil phase and the required HLB value to prepare the desired emulsion. After doing the calculations related to the HLB method, it is recommended that series of trial emulsions can then be assessed for stability based on the fact that the degree of creaming or separation is at a minimum at the optimal HLB value. Should several of these series show equally poor or equally good stability, resulting in an inability to choose a suitable HLB value, then the total emulgent concentration may be increased or reduced respectively, and the manufacture of the series is repeated. Having determined the best HLB value for a given pair of emulsions, that value can now be used to assess the suitability of other emulgent blends that may give a better emulsion than the one containing the emulgent used for the initial trials. It must be remembered that in choosing an emulsifier blend, the effect of chemical structure on the type of interfacial film must be taken into account. Condensed films are produced by emulsions having long saturated hydrocarbonic groups, thus providing maximum cohesion between adjacent molecules. In most cases, it has been found that the most stable emulsions are formed when both emulsifying agents are of the same hydrocarbon chain length. The use of the HLB system has several disadvantages, including the inability to take into account the effect of temperature, the presence of additives, and the concentration of the emulsifier. It is possible to overcome some of these problems, but An oil in water emulsion stabilized by non-ionic emulgent will, on heating, invert to form a water in oil product. This is because as the temperature increases, the Hlb value of a non-ionic surfactant will decrease as it becomes more hydrophobic. At the temperature at which the emulgent has equal hydrophilic and hydrophobic tendencies, the phase inversion temperature, the emulsion will invert. The stability of an emulsion has been related to the phase inversion temperature, PIT, of its emulsifying agent. Thank you all.